let's do a little coachy into the Wim Hofi, or so breath work, right? So with breath work, you're trying to separate the idea of yourself from the actuality of yourself at a very, very deep level. You're trying to separate reality from imagination, so that you can basically identify with reality and use imagination rather than being like caught in imagination. So when you do the Wim Hof thing, you're purging all the CO2. That lets you hold your breath for at least like a minute and a half. Right around a minute and a half, you use up all the oxygen dissolved like in the water of the blood, basically, and it starts to pull on the oxygen in the hemoglobin. And so if you don't breathe for a minute and a half with no air in your lungs, in about 90 seconds your blood will start to desaturate. If you've hyperventilated, your mental activity, your distractions from that, your CO2 alarm, will not have gone off. And so your urge to breathe will come up later, once you're well into the actual tension of the breath, right? So your urge to breathe won't happen until you're 90, 85%, 75% desaturated. So there'll be actual tension there. Most of the time you'll have this urge to breathe before there's any sort of tension in the body whatsoever, before there's been any sort of breath. So your urge to breathe is completely divorced and disassociated from the actual oxygen content of the body. And you can't really tell them apart, because the one's not giving any useful information about the other. There's no correlation. So there's not even an object to discern. So if you can get down to that level where you start to feel the urge to breathe, right? You're feeling the urge to breathe and you're feeling the blood tension at the same time. Just breathe in slowly enough, or let go of this idea of breathing, and from that point hop on to feeling that urge to breathe, that tension. Feel the tension in the blood, and feel how that tension is related or not to the that sensation or that pull or that desire to breathe in. And don't relieve that tension. So you're breathing slowly enough. It's really let your breath do whatever. Like, let go of this whole thing of a breath technique and maintain that blood tension, maintain that nervous system tension as relaxed as possible, right? So you're normally that tension, like you want to do something about it, you want to push through it. Oh, I'm going to hold my breath super long, or I want to breathe in and I want to get rid of it. No, maintain it. Like, maintain it. The whole point of it is the tension. So actually make it so that you're creating the tension. Instead of having this activity do something to where all of a sudden your breath is under tension, make that tension the same way that you can generate muscle tension. And when you first find this thing, it's delicate. It's like figuring out how to wiggle your little toe after you've been paralyzed or whatever, Kill Bill style. It's the way that you're going to generate tension is going to be very, very light. So you're almost doing nothing. You're literally almost doing nothing but maintaining this tension. And to maintain the tension, you're breathing very little, or you're not really breathing at all, because you're just maintaining the tension. And so that tension will move, and your breath will go in and out. And then from there, from this point of tension between the actual oxygen deprivation of the blood and the body and the CO2 alarm, the mental activity, all that's pulled taut, in that moment you can jump from the idea of yourself into the body of yourself. And it'll feel incredibly dense, incredibly heavy, incredibly thick, incredibly powerful, incredibly athletic, if you're not already this. Like if you're in your power, if you're in your body, which will be evident by like some ridiculous amount of skill, if you the people that are in their body are in their body. So people do this, it's the natural state. So there's plenty of people out there, the people capable of like filming themselves doing tricks or dances, and everyone like watches it. What are they showing off? They're just showing off that they're embodied. Who are they showing that off to? Who cares about that sort of stuff? Is the people that are stuck in the idea realm. They're just an idea of themselves. The exercise is just working on an idea of themselves. And there's different tiers or levels of this embodiment. You can be going up or down, right? Like the whole process of aging and death is kind of whatever. So people can be on one level, but they might not know how to maintain it. They don't know how they got it. They just are there. And some people have like sort of a practice, or they're very deliberate about their embodiment. But a lot of people are not at all. And so those are the people that are like most interested, like, oh, does the Wim Hof method works? How do all these things work? Like all the scientists, the people, the researchers that are like studying the world, trying to research the things, these are all people that are completely disembodied. They're living in an imaginary reality. The felt sense reality is like thick, present, obvious, already there. And so you just worry about things that are already there, and you see, and you, yeah, right. And it's the most fascinating thing in the world to people that are that have been sucked into the matrix, sort of into the mind. And this mind matrix is maintained by the screens, by the things that cause your noticing to go. You're noticing. It's basically if you're noticing the mind matrix, you can't go very deep into the body. And so it draws all of your attention up into the surface instead of being able to distribute it into the felt network of like everyone, everything. And where it's happening, it's happening. So it does for that sort of like wealth and abundance of depth of presence and knowing, it doesn't depend on anybody else. But yeah, the technique just gets you to this point to where it's all under tension. Then there's just, can you cross over? Can you merge with it? And the first time that you merge with something at those tension bridges, there's probably lots of different ways to do this. It's like an intimate, that's a peak experience. It's a big rush like sex. And the first time only happens once. So each subsequent time isn't going to be like quite as special. So people get into this thing where they're like chasing the special. And it's really just cherish it when it happens. Nobody knows how many are available to a man in a single lifetime, but it's definitely more than like 4. But each time only happens once.